All right, guys, part two of the Antler Repair. We're going to mix up some of the epoxy sculpt that we covered in step one. This is the white, but it's got a little gray. It's not white, it's grayish. And all you want to do, this stuff is really hard, so you want to just mix up equal parts. Get yourself a little clay modeling tool or whatever it is. We're not going to need a whole lot, so we're going to start out, well, want to have more than less, so we can always toss some if we don't need it. But literally just carving out a chunk of this epoxy sculpt, and it's a 2-part mixture. You want to get equal parts, and then I'll show you how I mix these together, because right now it's kind of got the consistency of gum that you find on the bleachers. So it's not the easiest stuff, especially when it's 35 degrees or whatever it is in my shop right now. The insulation that we put in is actually working. It's just not working great, so yet. But just roll this stuff up, kind of equal parts, and then what I do, I just kind of make a snake out of it. Get it long ways. If I drop some, just kind of thin it out into a strip, both of them. The lid's on. So thin these out, roll them, I guess you could say. And get them into a little 2 equal strips. And then I just kind of twist them together and then start mashing them into a ball. Really work these in so you get, you see kind of a swirling effect. And really mix these in until they're one color. And sometimes that's making it into a little snake again and twisting it. And well, you'll figure it out. But make sure they're mixed well and you don't have a gray and green candy cane. That's not what you want, because one of these is the, I guess I should put my glasses on, that would be helpful. It's the hardening part and then the actual epoxy. So you need both parts mixed in well with each other so you have a good consistency. And so just gonna get after this thing. I don't know if you can see, this is the post that dried overnight using the Gorilla Glue. I like the gel, the Gorilla Glue gel, or just the regular Gorilla Glue, but not the super glue, because the super glue just dries like that. It's got no working time. So this stuff, I just held the bottle over. I held the bottle over the hole that I drilled and just let it gravity feed it. I wasn't squirting anything in there. Let it gravity feed and then just drizzle down in there. And then immediately you want to just clean your antlers off the best you can. We're going to be sanding these down anyway, but I'm going to start out with just a little bit, just to see where we're going with it. And we're not really doing a whole lot of forming right now, because we're going to be taking a lot off and playing with this a little bit. But you want to just start getting it close, I guess. And you'll be able to tell when you've got too much. And this epoxy sculpt hardens up pretty well, and where you can light sand it and get the desired shape you want. So I'm above the post right now. And again, this is a lot. This is how much I just took off. So you want to get as close as you can, but just use your, just use feel when you're getting there. And I'm working from the bottom up. So I'm going from the antler, and I'm just lightly pushing and working that up just like you would clay. And then just starting to form this thing. I try not to make this a 20-minute video, but I'm not going to rush either. I'm just going to take my time. I'm kind of looking at the taper of the G3 over here that I'm using as an example, and I'm clearly a little thick still, and I'm just going to work up. And again, I'm going to sand this for precision, but I want to get as close as I can so I'm not having to take a bunch of material off at the end. That's pretty good. And you can see this top part here is the taper. You see how that's still loose? I'm on the post ends about right there. So I'm above the post, and so I'm kind of free floating. You need to lick your fingers or whatever and just work that in. Not that big a deal. And then I'm going to start pulling that epoxy down onto the antler, just so there's not a definitive line. I'm just blending that in, and sometimes getting your finger wet helps that. I'm not worried about the tip right now. I'm just kind of I'm just working it up and getting rid of the big bulge down at the bottom here. Should have music or something on in the background to make it a little bit more entertaining, but see that starting to take shape. And this is the artistic side of taxidermy, I guess you could say. And what I don't want it to look like is, here comes this antler, it's supposed to taper up, and now you've got this thing on top. So I'm going to take another little chunk off and really start to thin this top part out. Well, I got a little out here in the back that you can't see. It started to indent in a little bit because I got a little too aggressive with how much I took off. So I gotta play with it. And then, I mean, at the end of the day, I could make this a tip right now and then just sand it, which I may end up doing. I'm gonna see how well this cooperates with me, but just get it looking close for now. And then with some 220 grit, or got to get it aiming in the right direction too, so it's not looking goofy. Some 220 grit sandpaper, you can just take your time and gently get to that optimal look, but you just want to get it where it's close. It's really kind of bulging in the back here. Trying to work that down. I know y'all can't see that, but this is one of those things, I think, that at some point you just got to stop and let it set up a little bit, because you could sit here all day and push this wet epoxy around, but I want this top part sealed up, So when I do sand it, I don't have to add more at the end. Add more wet epoxy. This moment of silence brought to you by a bald guy licking his fingers with epoxy on it. I don't know, whatever. I'm just talking to myself. It's close, but it's not as thin as I'd like yet. I mean, you can see just barely touching it, it's moving around a lot. So you just gotta, I think maybe the best move is to just leave it alone for right now and let it set up a little bit. But you get the idea. You're just working this stuff up, and you don't want to be able to come up the antler and then feel this bump. So that's where sanding it down is gonna come in pretty handy. So there are guys better at this than me, and that's okay. They've been doing it longer and they know a lot of tricks. So there's a little ridge. And you'll figure out your own tricks too as you're doing it. Again, we're just doing a little, just the tip of a G3. If you're doing a complete antler, like I'm going to be doing, there's a deer I have in here that's got his G2 and G3 broken off. So I'm doing complete, a good 8 inches or 6 inches on this side and 4 inches, a complete rebuild. So I'm going to have to go in stages. So if you've got a complete antler, you're going to want to come up in stages as far as you can, because you're going to have the rod in there, the 10 gauge wire, but that thing's going to be moving all around as far as the epoxy goes. So that's what I would do, but everyone's different and everyone's got a different skill set and patience level. And I am almost to the point where I'm just gonna leave it. I'm kind of happy with that for now. And there is still, when I run my finger up the antler, I can still feel it's kind of the bump out. But I'm not worried about that because, like I said, you get your sandpaper in there, and then you can just gradually take off material, and you're not pushing it all around. I think the important thing right now is to get it lined up where it transitions the way it's supposed to. You don't have this big hook at the top or it's going a different direction, that it's following its natural trajectory of, if it had not broken off, it would curl. And this other G2 over here, I'm just using this one here, just using that as a slope. Like it doesn't hook in, or it doesn't turn this way, or I'm just trying to mirror that. So anyway, I'll get you a little bit closer up. You can see, like on this backside right here, it still pops out a lot. Again, you can lick your finger and just kind of pull that down, and you can see how it doesn't take much. You're just rubbing that down a little bit. And here's the other side of it. So you can see right here, I'm going to sand that down. But for the most part, it looks like I like the height of it. So that's what I'm going for. That's the right height. And it was broken off down here, if you remember. And now we've achieved, there we go. Keep touching it, that'll work. But just leave it for now. I know we're thick in this part, but we're gonna sand all that off. All right, well, there it is. This stuff here is mixed. So What I do with my mixed epoxy, if I'm not, instead of throwing it out, not that it's terribly expensive, but I just put it, not in that one, just put it off into the corner in a ball, so I know this one's already mixed up. So that's what I do. So I'm not throwing it away. And then you could seal that up, and you know that if I have to go back and add some, I've got some already mixed in or mixed up. So that's that. Epoxy sculpt, glue, and 10 gauge wire, and some sandpaper later. And this thing should be set up overnight. See, there I am touching it again. I just need to leave it alone. It's not a sharp point on these. This other one's got kind of a rounded. It might look cool just to leave it natural, kind of like it's broken off a little bit on this one, or he's been fighting or scraping or whatever. And just don't make it look perfect, because none of them are perfect. They all have their own character to them. Well, this one's kind of perfect as I say that, but some of them are real sharp, some of them are broken off. Pretty common for a G3, G2, G3, or the 4 to have a tip broken off to make it look natural. So that's it. 16 minutes, sorry. But hope you got the gist of it. And I'll do a step 3 for sanding, and when I go to stain this with the Antler stain and show you the final product. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.